I just want to, if you could, for people who right now are immigration insecure, their
Mhm.
status is uncertain, or their status is perfectly certain, but they feel very insecure because we are in a crazy moment right now where people with green cards who have permission to be here, permanent residents who have permission to be here, are also finding themselves snatched up by these ICE thugs and the deputies that mimic them. What what should they be thinking about doing? What options exist for them, or support networks are still available to them? Where should they turn?
Yeah. So because we're on a Black radio station, I will say welcome to Blackness because this is uncertain. I grew up in the South. And one of the
Right,
things we had when we grew up in the South was there may be places you can go, but you shouldn't go there after this time. There may be things
right.
you should do, but you should do them after this time. It's legal for you to do these things, but you don't want to go to that park or that neighborhood after this time because there's going to be confusion. And
That's
so
right.
let's be real with immigrants. You need to be smart about what you're doing until you naturalize. And that
Mm,
is your social media, that is the people you contact, that is the things and the places that you go, right? The best
right.
answer is to not get in contact with the law. The real answer is if you do come in contact with the law, even if by mistake you live through it, right? You remain silent.
Mm,
Remember that
that's
the
right.
law will help you, but the law can only help you if you're alive, and it may be take some time. So there will be some
Right.
infringements on your liberties. It might be that it is wrong. We have seen it happen before. People, the mayor of New Jersey, inappropriately arrested, right?
Yep.
It's still not resolved. He's going through court, but he's allowed to talk about it in that situation.
Mm,
So carry your documents and be clear about your status. And if there are people in your family who don't have clear status, then inform them of what status they do have so they're aware
right.
of what could happen. Then make a plan. If you have minor US children, you need to see a family lawyer with regards to what you want to happen with those children if you happen to be removed from the United States. It's just a process to have in place, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we had 3, 4 more years, and this president wants to do 1 million people a year, and we've seen the only people, the only targets, right? I have not seen a plane
Mm,
go to Europe yet, are mostly Black and brown people, right?
mm.
And
Yeah.
because those communities are already over policed in
That's
those
right.
traffic stop areas.
That's
So
right.
be smart about what you're doing. And if you have an issue, then try to address that issue. There are free clinics through Catholic Charities and bar events. If you're in the DC area, the DC bar has one every 4 months where they do an immigration intake where they can tell you this is what you
Nice.
have to look forward to. This is what it is.
Okay.
Because Barney Five right now is doing a lot of the policing, they are not immigration enforcement officers and they don't understand the law. Don't have a conversation with
Wait,
someone who
wait, wait.
doesn't
Say that
understand the law.
again. What do you mean by that? Explain that a little
So
more.
the president has deputized people from state and local enforcement to enforce immigration, specifically in
Right.
Florida, and the
Right.
governors too, right? So there are people on the street who are not immigration lawyers like me who don't know what the paperwork means, who have no clue between what asylum or refugee means, who are making decisions about your status or saying you don't look like you belong here or you don't sound like you belong here,
Mm.
right? Those are not the people to have a conversation with, unfortunately.
Right. Right.
Let them
So
run the process.
while you're being accosted, you may want to say, you may want to respond, you may want to speak, you may want to do. That's not the person who you need, who's going to be the one receptive to what do you have to say. They don't care that you have an attorney. Those aren't the people you should be trying to have this sort of negotiation or conversation with. It. Am I understanding you
Absolutely.
correctly? Okay.
Absolutely. You want
Okay.
to get to the center, ask for a lawyer. That should be the only thing you need to say. I need to see a lawyer. I want to see a lawyer.
Mm.
Asking for a lawyer is almost better than asking for your family because it's on the record. And if we get to that later on and have a conversation that we have record that you asked for an attorney to get one, that's a justice problem. Hopefully we can
Okay.
remedy it. Once again, it doesn't happen immediate, but it will happen over time.
Yeah.
For all the Black people who don't care about immigration, well, guess what? I'm talking about you too because you're going to be the same people who are over policed. And there are Black
Mm.
people who have immigrants in their family who are being over policed, right?
Right.
When you talk about the lady in Florida who's being kept alive because of her child, a Black woman, right? The immigrants they were doing those medical surgery operations in, all Black immigrants. The
Wow.
first families that had their children separated from them, Black immigrants. What happens
Right.
and how they see Black immigrants is exactly how they see us. Not just
Right.
there, but also in the Supreme Court when they say, okay, these injunctions don't work anymore, right? We don't
Yeah.
need this sort of righteous stuff anymore. Prove your documents, right?
Mm.
Because what immigration is telling me, from the white Afrikaners to the closing 8 embassies in Africa to saying
Right.
they're Haitian gangs, right, is that immigrants to this country means white immigrants. It's understood
That's
going
right.
forward.
That's right.
Because this country told me last month we need to have more children. This month
Sure
they're
did.
deporting children, right? And trying to make children who are born here through not be citizens. So tell me, make that consistent for me. It's only consistent if you understand they want a certain type of children, a certain type
Right.
of child, and
Right.
from a certain type of immigrant, right?
That's
Because
right.
there are people having children here all the time. We don't want them. We only want this group.
That's right. And they're not
Last,
concerned about everyone's falling birth rates because everybody ain't got falling birth rates. The only people dealing with falling birth rates are white people
that's
dealing with
right,
falling birth rates.
because it's
So,
expensive,
yeah,
and they want to
imagine
give them
that.
$5,000,
Once,
right?
but no paid time off, no paid sick leave, no support for childcare. I'm like
Right,
$5,000. That's not even 2.5, 3 months worth of
right,
daycare. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what am I supposed to
right.
do with that? Like, I got a whole ass baby to raise. It's gonna cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars thereafter. Your $5,000 down payment won't do it. It's weird to me, Alan. It feels like they have no problem with creating welfare queens. We're seeing all of these
Right,
reports right now about how
right.
they're going to pay married parents. One parent gets to stay home. We know which
Mm-hmm.
parent that's going to be. It's going to be the one with
That's
the
right.
uterus, and she'll stay home, and you won't have to, spend as much money. And so they're not talking about fair wages. They're not talking about like equity. They're talking about breeding. They want women to be breeding, and
That's
and
right.
and they preferably their own.
Let me give you this
Alan,
goodbye kiss. I want to give you this one goodbye kiss because it's important to me.
oh boy,
Within the
okay,
first 3 months of this year, almost 11 people have died in immigrant custody.
my
That's more than
God,
has happened in the last 4 to 5 years combined. People are just dying, right?
Jesus,
Children are dying. Black woman died. Black Haitian woman, 44 years, died in immigrant custody.
my God,
All of the people who listen from New York and Philly and Chicago, the Black people who said, oh my God, I'm so mad. They're getting these housing, they're getting this food. Let me tell you what the biggest game they're playing on you.
mm,
That same $1 million that was going to your local jurisdiction, they were paying taxes, paying local hotels, buying from local restaurants, generating that money over and over and over again, are now going to private prisons. And those private prisons are profiting off of your tax dollars and not feeding back into your community and holding people in detention that could be released, paying taxes and living in your neighborhood. You are not getting the money. Even today, where's your housing in Chicago and New York from
right.
the government because they were so concerned about where's the food? They're cutting off your food. So don't be foolish to think on a cost benefit analysis they have the same $1 million to help an immigrant or to hurt an immigrant. That money still ain't coming to you.
I'm so glad you said that. We actually had a caller, and I wasn't going to try to convince the caller to think otherwise. I mean, I see the guest, and so I know we got to get ready to go, but I wasn't going to try to convince the caller otherwise. But she basically was like, I don't care nothing about worrying about these immigrants. We need to worry about black people. I'm paraphrasing, these were not her
Yeah,
exact words, but she
yeah,
basically was like, I don't really care. Like, I'm black American, and she wasn't like affiliating with any of the groups that sort of
sure.
specialize in that sort of commentary. Not that she identified, but and we got off the phone basically, and I think maybe she thought I was going to push back, but I was like, you're locked into this immigrant, the idea of immigrants being an issue, an enemy for you. You're locked in, and it didn't seem to me a worthwhile adventure to try to change her mind. What do you say to people, Black Americans in particular, who are in a position where they're like, yeah, no, we don't want anything to do with this whole immigration conversation. Take them all. Like there's a subset of a subset of a subset of our population that is very callous
Right.
about this issue. What should we be thinking about
Their
when we're having
freedom
a
is linked to
conversation?
yours, and not another poor person ever in the history of this country kept another poor person from being able to go forward. So just
Wow.
know the history and be real about the understanding. How they see those poor people are exactly how they see you. You're just buying
Mm,
something and selling something you don't believe in. So it isn't even about the person, it's about the rights and liberty of us all, right? They're bound together.
mm. Wow. Alan Orr, you're amazing. Looking forward to having more of your voice. We want to have Alan Orr on the podcast. Lurie breaks it down because you have so much to say, and we want to make sure that we hear all of it. For people who want to support you or connect with you or have questions
Sure.
for you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Alan Orr Esquire on Twitter, Alan Orr on Blue Sky, and I will be posting tons of stuff about free information and try to feed to you also at the Law Justice Center to make available to individuals. Now's the time not to be afraid, but to be informed.
That's right.